If I'm lucky, I'll be able to pull off streaming on all three services right now. Yeah. This time, hopefully, I can catch somebody out there who may happen to have the ability to come at least comment on my little system. I'm getting it down. Oh, by the way, this is WNDC, NDC. WNDC stands for We in the Crib and You Ain't. NDC, this crib tonight. First, I want to say that I'll be playing one of the tracks, one of the broadcasts from Das House on SoundCloud. The links in the comments are the links in the body. And I'm calling fair use on this because they have permission to play that song. So, and they gave me permission to play they're playing on here. So it's fair use. Hopefully once they screen this, they'll figure that out or not. So, as you can tell from the title, we've gotten past the Black History Month, and we're into March and the official spring per se, and we're thinking about all these new vaccinations and all this other stuff right now, and when we're going to get back to normal. And there ain't going to be no new normal. It's a newer normal that's coming, and we're just going to have to buckle down and realize that's what it is, and that's what it's going to be. With that being said, a lot of other things trending in the news, but I think it's fair for me to at least mention that I really didn't want to watch the Zoom quality Golden Globes awards, just because I normally don't watch them anyway. I just wait for the results when they come by, and just do my thing. And like so many of you, and wait for the results. And the results are out. It said that there was 7 black films for African Americans or whatnot that all got awards, which was something big that hadn't happened since maybe the 80s. So yeah, we're making strides and whatnot. Of course, there's a lot of the other things, but I want to get into this new era that we're living. As I realize that most of the majority of the hype about these award shows were due to the attendance and the red carpet, both that didn't really necessarily exist outside of it's a little technical kind of thing. And while we're getting into all of this, a lot of us technical stage people are getting a little picky in checking out these productions as we sit home waiting for the country to open back up. I think I'm going to light me a little sage this time, and I'm going to hope that I can actually transmit more positive energy. And you might want to move aside because I might be dumping some negative energy. I got little bits and pieces of things and people who wish that they could be here in the crib, but they ain't, and they don't understand how instrumental that is. I'm also over here on my phone on Instagram. So until I pay for the upper service of this one, I won't basically be able to do the other RFT, whatever it is that's involved with this this thing. So it is what it is, man. I can only read or see the comments on YouTube, so you would have to try to follow me on YouTube if you can. Please follow, like, and share. No, I didn't put it over here on my other phone. So, yeah. Shout outs to my man. Shout outs to his wife. I will say this. I've been watching a lot of Us, and I like to commend a lot of the people of color out there, because while we have a lot of people who complain about a lot of things, what we've been noticing is not necessarily how the industries and whatnot are being more productive and showing many of us in different vast lives or whatnot, but the mere fact that, as I look at a lot of our people of color that are also in the media and whatnot, what I'm kind of glad, I'm kind of impressed about is the mere fact that we're not cutting the level of fool that we're accustomed to as a whole. When they try to be slick and slide in on one of those, we've been more than upright lately, and how we are portrayed just due to the mere fact that that's what we're doing. We're acting. So I commend my peoples for all of that. I never, ever expected, demand, or wished for there to be a blacker existence a little bit more than what we got right now. Actually, I think we got a lot. I think a lot of it's in its distribution and its access. Got this Xfinity service, and every now and then I go over and get on their black channel, and I'm kind of amazed to a lot of the B-type movies that went straight to, didn't even make Netflix. And I dig that. I'm digging the mere fact that we are really making a lot more of the ancestors who really went through a lot of things to get us where we are not really rolling over in their grave as badly as, we were just years ago. And, as we go through this next little transition, realize that, on my last broadcast, I talked about how, at this point in the state, I remember how I would post a lot around and just asking, okay, so Black History Month is over. It's done with. What did we learn? How many people did we touch? How many people, this, that, and the other? And it was nothing time flat. If you remember last year, that we went from insignificant to Black Lives Matter. And not even like COVID could slow us down initially. And, a lot of that I really do believe is due to the mere fact, I think Jane Fonda, is the one who stated it best and how we still got a lot to do. We still have a lot more to go. I mean, we're still not getting juries or people or judgments of our peers fairly and equally. And, having realized that the Golden Globe has no people of color in its deciding factor of who gets what. It's obvious just in merely how the people who did win all got, they're just due to a certain degree, but unlike many of the other years past, it's such a issue right now that even the other runners-up or the other people that were in contestment that really wanted to win that award as well for their work really couldn't protest like they normally would have. There was no Kanye's involved. Outside of the audio that got screwed up with my man, I think he was in the UK, and it might be his service, it might be the energy. Because, if you remember the last broadcast, we damn near caused a blackout. Well, caused a blackout with just the energy. And it's possible now that we're living in this new matrix of sorts. We're not even aware of how fast we've grown in our social connections. I watched a lot of what few little pieces of thank yous and gratitudes or speeches or whatnot came from the Golden Globes award show, which is like not the biggest, but it's what we got. And to me, it was a sign that work as a stagehand in our craft with IATSE and whatnot has a possibility of some kind of hope that we can start getting back to work. I can get away from this and maybe even, find a way of taking you with me as we go around, but not necessarily legally. And in some of those places, but sharing, because sharing is caring. And we've gotten to a point where if we learn nothing else, we should have learned that a total neglect, the sense of apathy, for your God-given spiritual rights is not very safe anymore in trying to measure your ability to not necessarily do something different than you did last year. Even if it doesn't seem like, there's a rush in people evolving, but there is. And if you remember, we went from Black History Month to Black Lives Matter to Make America Great Again to it resulted in a major amount of people who really were sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired of us being sick and tired about telling them that we're sick and tired. And it led to a lot of the population of idiots, people who believed in this, not necessarily false news, just news according to how it was spoken about, how it was talking with their peers. It's kind of like when we complain about how they're remaking a lot of their historic stories, but they're putting white cast, or they're always lightening up things. And we're like, man, why aren't you lightening up? And the truth be told, it's not like we've seen very many blue-black films or whatnot that have been made with all the stars being blue-black like that since Paul Robeson. So yeah, all right, we'll play with that. I like how Haddish girl is actually coming along now. She's becoming more of a force and not just a spectacle of sorts. in this realm too, and I really dig that. What I like about it is the mere fact that she still has a realness that used to get lost back in the day. Used to be way back in the 60s and 70s and early 80s or whatnot. Those stars were forced to go to the after hours of this and do this, that, and the other. No. While the majority of her social media portrayed the grace and the elegance that they employ her for. Hey, what's happening, brown sugar? I enjoyed her going back to her peoples and getting her taco on and having that sense of home. That, and I think in a lot of cases, that's where we're at as people of color in this world as well, because we can walk the walk and talk the talk, just like, we could be respectable Negroes and whatnot, but be forewarned that don't mean that we don't get a craving to go back home and, and get tore up and watch all of our friends and our family act a fool at the barbecue. And the whole nine, the sense of the need to actually want to come back and be in that with my peoples. I'm with my peoples. I've witnessed that with a lot of the historic people, celebrities and whatnot that I've met in my passing, where I told the story about how I met Chuck Berry. I didn't know he was Chuck Berry. I just knew that it was the only other black guy over stage left, recklessly eyeballing all of the people doing the muckety-mucks behind stage at this big event. And, discreetly. And I'm sitting over there, and then next thing you know, I look back over, and black dude sitting over there, and we looking at the same thing and giggling, and after a while, we chopping it up, and he's like, see that one right there? That one's a nice one right there. See? Oh, look at that right there. You can see the power plays and all this other stuff, and how everybody is, on this kind of mentality of trying to give off this image of all of this where, it's not, it's like the Cuomo thing that's going on. It's kind of difficult for you to not spot somebody got a little good freak in them enough that you want to actually, even though you don't want to, ain't no telling what's going to go on with that. We'll talk about that later. But as we were sitting there, we're talking about this, and we were having a good time, and I thought, man, this is a cool old dude, man. We could go out and kick it. And then all of a sudden, the announcer said, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Berry, Chuck Berry. And he said, excuse me for a minute. And he walked off. He put his hat on. He grabbed his guitar, and he duck walked out and did his show. And I was in awe. I was flabbergasted. I was like, wow. I was like, wow. Man, it's like, and I watched as much of the show before I had to go to work that night. But I had other times like that. I was at the Kennedy Center Honors one time, walking through the halls to get there because I couldn't go down and up and around and avoid these people. I had to get there because I had this much time to get this money. And it was only maybe about 30 minutes worth of work, if that. At union time on a weekend, at holiday scale and the whole nine. It was some pretty money. I knew that you were going to get at least 4 hours, 4 good hours for a couple of minutes worth of work. And as I'm going through there, I walk through there, and I'm like, wow, all these celebrities and stuff like that. And as I see the door come open, the door opens up, and then all of a sudden, out walks Sidney Poitier, Cicely Tyson. And I'm like, oh my God. They call me Mr. Tibbs and Miss Jane Pittman. And I could see in their faces, they were saying, oh, black people, here. Ooh, here, come over here. Give me an excuse to sit down over here on the side and act like, we're. And I was sitting there, and I was like, who is this? Rashad, yeah, the poet. Yeah, hey, how you doing? And so I was I'm just sitting there and I'm like this, that, and the other, and realizing that they had been at this event and they'd had some drinks and, and they'd have made the rounds and, been the celebrity out there with all the people. Oh, and this, that, and the other. And so we were having a black moment. In the process of this black moment, Cicely went all the way to the black moment. I was like, oh, this, that, and the other. And with whatever she was talking about, she was in good sassy mode. Now, this is Women's Month, I believe, after us. And so I made a little post about it. Here it goes. When you find those old, spicy, feisty old women, you say, my, she's something else. Oh, she's such a pistol, and you're like, wow, such a pistol, but we don't have that in our culture. When, you find an old lady like that, she'll get her respect to a certain degree, but not like feisty white women. And yet we're now in a new age where it's all women. And yet many of us who have grown up knowing what oppression felt like and tastes like are now in a state of uncomfortableness. Will we inherit? That? Can I call a couple of sisters pistols because they 50s, 60s, and 70s with a mouth on them? And so she was on full fleek, man. She was like, and so I'm wondering why my man Sydney is clutching his pearls, because he's really trying to strip away what little bit of manhood I've established in him with the ooh. And then I started listening to what she's saying, and she was like, look, I'm trying to give you this hotel key. And I was like, oh, they clowning. And so I'm like, but I'm trying to be respectful and not hear that. Normally, anybody who knows me knows I'll take a good bet, even if it's your grandmama. I'm going to take a good bet, No offense. I'm being honest. And so while all that was going on, I still had minutes to get to work. And I just had to get through that door. But they just came through. And so as I'm trying to pull myself away, she's on fleek. And at this point, he's double clutching pearls. And she's saying something, and she said out of her mouth something like, you think I'm kidding? I'll show you what I did to Miles. And it hit me. And I was like, woo, wait a minute. I remember, she did whatever she did to Miles, made a hardcore jazz dude talk about the power of a woman, a power of a sister, but the power of a woman, whatever she did to make that hardcore gangster trumpet player literally make a pop album and dedicate it to her. With all of this pop music, he didn't write, or this, that, and the other. The whole jazz community was clutching pearls like Sidney Poitier. And and I thought about that, but I didn't have no more time because I had to go get this money, and so as I'm about to pull myself away, all of a sudden out walks Angela Bassett. She's in full What's Love Gotta Do It shape. And she walked over, oh, my ancestors, and came over, and instead of her saying something to them, she walked over to me and my strange ass and gave me to this day, I can feel every piece of her that she put on me when she hugged me. And when she hugged me, all of a sudden I heard off on the side, Sidney Poitier now is triple clutching because Cicely done said some other stuff, a little bit loud. Look at her. Look at a young chick trying to take my meat. And I was like, and so she pulled herself away from me and she said, oh my God, did I interrupt something? I did, gracefully, and and so I pulled myself apart and went back, and I wanted to tell people about it and everything else. All they wanted to do is get this work done and get it on. We finished in about 25 minutes, rolled the stuff around the back of the building, put it on the truck, boom, you're done. You got 4 hours. 4 hours of double time, overtime, some other stuff, and my bus was sitting right in front of the building, ready to take me almost back to my front door. And yet I'm sitting back looking at the front door of that thing going, maybe I should go in there and see if I can get this hotel key. Because at this point, it was an hour-long ride from work. And as I was there, I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, man, what are the odds? What if I was to go back in there and have gotten that key? What if I would have gone and went back to Miss Jane Pittman's room and let her show me what she did to Miles? Even more different. And so my first thing in my mind was like, oh my God, man, I would ruin my whole family and everything. If what would happen? I could see it now. Stagehand, black dude gets caught in the room with Cicely Tyson, and she passes or this, that, and another. And a friend of mine, he kind of softened it for me and was like, dude, what if you would have went back to that room and her old Miss Jane Pittman self put it on you and you died? You can see the doggone thing now. Stagehand, dude dies in Cicely Tyson's room, and they would cover it up to the best thing because it's an old historic lady. I met another cat co-worker. He actually had an experience like that. We're not going to divulge a lot of that because we're also trying to stay on point with just the whole topic. This Golden Globes and environment. This culture, this existence of where we're at. Everything is a new now. And what has been blowing my mind as a child of the era when Judas and the Messiah, were my parents. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. And here I am, looking at a lot of people who have no clue what it was back then for it to be so different for us now. Our suffering today ain't like suffering way back in the day. When we ate government cheese, because it was the only cheese we was getting. We lived at times where we would eat beans and rice or whatnot throughout the week. And if we were lucky or something happened, there might be some meat in it. We'd always question where the meat come from. Just know I did. No, I don't want to know, Mom. And it's commendable of the Golden Globes to finally, give some of the other women of other cultures and culture that are of color, just like, something too. So for the other lady that did that, there's a lot of promise that's coming now. And even though it's still not fair, for any of the people like ourselves that are in this industry, we're starting to see that there's some hope enough that we can start making C movies and B movies and honing our gifts and hoping that some of these old folk would just let it go and let us new folk get in there and be the next executive so we could do the same thing for the next people and for the next people. And all the while, here we are in this new era. And we're never going to go back. And in a lot of cases, what I would say that came out the most is in the Jane Fonda speech, where if I could have even gone even farther in what she was saying, you'll need people like me. You'll need people like me because technically speaking, even though it didn't look very blackly black, for what happened with the Golden Globes, and we were expecting the same, as normal. But we got seven films of people of color. That's epic because it wasn't, spiritually, just something that, people just love to be entertained by them. This is some real stuff, and we're in the real era where we're really starting to dig in and be people, not just black people, but people. And, now we're in an era where this is Women's Month. We went from Black History to Women's Month, and that's fine. A lot of people don't even know that it's that doggone big of an issue or a thing, and yet here we are in it. And what really stood out to me that was really, high point of the whole Golden Globes show thing was the acceptance speech by my man's wife. He done passed on. He got, his little thing for, Chadwick. Had his wife made up. And I think it was a part of what also people like Jane Fonda and a lot of these other people are starting to feel when there's still this essence of this old school hitmen of sorts that are still kind of holding on through this traditional sense of power that has become what we know to be the entertainment industry, and as well as politics and whatnot. And slowly but surely we're getting out and away from that. And thank God we're getting out of a lot of that. We still have to deal with, hey, Will, what's happening? So we still have a lot more to deal with, but it's coming. It's there, and we have to, and as people of color, I think one of the chores that we're going to have to make within ourselves is we're really going to have to start realizing that, we can't force all of these other people to treat us better than we treat ourselves, and I really mean that. And I don't mean we have to go out and make all black productions, but we have to actually be more supportive and reaching out, reaching back, each one teach one. Stop acting like if I tell them all my secrets, then they're gonna take my job. Well, you know what? You should already be the CEO, and you should let them have the job you think you're getting, that you're good with. It's time for us to really start, because these kids that are coming out, man, they're ready for it. They want it. They're already in it, and we only have but so much time. By the time that all of us get vaccinated, ain't no telling how long we all might just zip out of here. And technically speaking, we are living in an era right now where there are more distinct generations of adults alive and healthy, and this earth that are really clogging up the food chain. Normally, I'm on my way to 60, and I never thought that I would be, in the shape that I am. And I'm not saying I'm the, healthiest person on the planet, but, when people see somebody over 50 and almost 60, they look at them, they expect a lot more wrinkles and a lot more, what's the word? Senile, a little more trumpeted. Excuse me, young man, and this, another, with all these old people, there's still not a run on canes, unless you're in the BDSM. Because that's the way we are now. And yet, to watch how we now are starting to realize that, I like the fact that, a part of this podcasting thing is allowing us to still be seen and heard, but to do so through distances where people can actually be more of themselves at home. You always want to know how Mr. Rogers, took off his shoes at home. You know how he did it on the show. And so here we are, and there's a lot more things on my mind. I'm trying to stay connected long enough to actually be able to, maybe see if I can, catch up on some of those things. But I'm really hoping that we're headed towards the ability to safely get back to a new normal where we can actually benefit from actually going out. We've gotten to a point where we've grown into a certain state in film where people are producing things in a whole different manner than the way they used to do them back in the era that we came from in film and whatnot, where you went to a theater and you were in this great big place with this great big screen. And the people who made these films knew that they would set the temperature and the mood by the filters, the colors, the shades, as well as the images. And um, we don't get that. We got big TVs, we got LEDs, we got phones, we got all these other things. So we lose a lot of the projection that would go when you sit in a pitch black room with your popcorn and you wait to be entertained and not notice that if you were to, I guess that's another reason why I ended up becoming, a stage technician or a film technician or a craftsman, because, I used to sometimes go all the way down to the front and I used to watch the people as they watched the movie. And I would watch how certain scenes would turn into colors of certain shades, and how you could see them while they were so glued watching the movie, the film. You could see how their moods would change with the colors that would embrace them. When you saw it went from pitch black to that beautiful brown, golden, kind of thing, and you could feel the energy of the sun and this, and you really thought that that's the way it was, because that's the way film and whatnot was made at a certain time. When we went to color and the whole nine, it was. And now we're in a state of text, and so it's difficult for people like myself that find it impossible to actually describe things in simplicity. People want simplicity. Just tell me the ball is red. And I'm going, I can't just say the ball is red. It's a different kind of ball. The ball was big. The ball was a different kind of thing. It wasn't like it wasn't like a volleyball or basketball. It was like a dodgeball. But, not like, the dodgeball had a different sound, had a different texture, and yeah, it was red, but it was a different kind of red. And it was, and people are like, look, man, the ball was red, and some of that instinct also, I think, is, contributed to the loss of our ability to bask in the richness, of the colors and the hues and whatnot. A lot of our productions are being made where it's no longer, artful for you to even be concerned about how, the projection of itself may, be a part of the energy in the room or the story or whatnot. And yet we're still making good stuff in that mindset. And I think in a lot of cases, a lot of people who wonder why this movie made, this got a claim or this and that, it's because the people that were judging this are still judging this by way of the artistic ability of all the other craftsmen that were a part, all the way down to the grips that were a part of, the making of that energy, that sound. Now we're in a state where we just leave our TV on and not even notice how it changes with each thing that's on there. In 1 minute, you got a commercial with red, and you got another thing where it's black. And you don't notice that even when you're not watching TV, it projects on your walls, and you see how your house changes colors and this, that, and the other. They even buy TVs now that actually have something in them now where it actually adjusts to the certain temperatures and colors that are being portrayed on, these films or whatnot. Problem with that is that most of these things were not done intentionally like that, and so it's all over the place. It's almost like a strobe. I find a lot of times that I really want to reach out to a lot of people everywhere else. The uniqueness of where I'm at right now. It's difficult to explain just due to the mere fact that I'm inside this bubble, just like Obama. A few other folks have spoken about this before, in the mere fact that, a lot of the worries of the day just don't exist on these blocks, because these blocks are also protected, to a certain degree, more than all the rest of them everywhere else. There's a whole difference between, just being a good person and having a government clearance. But so many a times, a lot of people are really stuck in these rural areas, in the hood. Are possible enough. There it is. Are we back? I think we're back. Thanks, Thaddeus. I sure do appreciate it, man. I do believe we're back. I can see bars now. Yeah. And that's the reason why I really dig. I like this Restream. It doesn't have some of the things that the other StreamYard has, but it does allow me the ability to actually be able to directly chat with people. I can't do it on Facebook, but I can do it on YouTube, and for that reason, I'm appreciating that. You still got nothing? Because I've got bars. I've got bars, bro. Maybe if you go in and go out too, it may restart that, because I'm looking at my bars now. You got it? Yeah. So you got it now. Cool. Yeah. And this is real. This is deep, man. I never thought that I would get this old and then watch this much stuff in a manner where even when everybody else is going freaking crazy, thinking everything is going off the rails, I'm sitting there going, man, who'd have thunk it? I mean, there's some people that I've loved all my life and believed them, like, that was very adamant. You'll never see a black president. This is Women's Month. We got this vice president that's actually a working vice president in heels. And this is real change. I mean, because it's not like, yeah, finally we got a woman in there. She'll get in there and then she'll move all the men out of there. No, it ain't even like that. These are people who coexist. Now we're in a state where we all have to start learning how to find the ability to really honestly play well with each other as whom we are in America. Because that's all we got. And really honestly, nothing that we have in our own little idiosyncrasies of, our little worlds or universes, none of it, is possible for you to solely do it with just your people. You need all of these different aspects of this, these different crafts and stuff like that. We have to get over, all of that, but we can't, because we've got 26,000 years of manipulation, social, structural manipulation. And it's time to let that go. When's the last time you prayed? When's the last time you really honestly believed that your prayers were answered? They were just in the loop. It wasn't going to happen today, but they're coming. Enough that you don't have to pray again for it, because you know it's coming. And at this point, all you want to do is prepare for the next move, because you know it's coming. So when it gets here, you'll know. Know what? Go where? When you get there, you will know. That faith, that other loving kind of thing. There are more people now that are walking out on a different kind of faith just due to the mere fact. Sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired of sitting around with a bunch of people who just like being sick and tired because they believe that's what they were meant to do. And no longer is that the thing. We ain't in Kunta Kinte days. No more. Ain't nobody chopping off nobody's feet because they run too damn fast for them to catch them. So I think that, all this is about really realizing this is a new day. It's a new day, baby. It's a new day. And it ain't great. It ain't the best one we got, but it's better than we've ever had our entire genetic lives. And if you can't find at least some semblance, well, and you have to realize you're right. And you have to realize that when we, hey, that's the first time. Thanks a lot. And when we started this whole thing, you remember the Matrix? You remember the Matrix, and how it said how there are people that, will find themselves at a state and time. Remember the dude who turned in the Matrix guys because, you know, he said he's sitting there, he's eating a steak in the restaurant, and he's like, I know the steak is just zeros and ones, you know? And you have to realize that in a lot of cases, half of the problem we got with this whole unification of the whole people is the mere fact that we're hustling backwards. A lot of times we're seeking out the like minds due to the mere fact that slave mentality of sorts was very good for us back in the days that we needed to have HBCUs. Now, you know, it's a whole different game now, you know, and we need these other folk, and we need to, you know, and in a lot of cases, you know, we have to start realizing that even though we wanted to have this black thing, this, that, and the other, so on, so on, so we might need somebody that, you know, we're going to have to get them because of their the content of their character and not the color of their skin too. You know, when everybody else is going to be mad, oh, that's messed up. You're supposed to put your boy up in there, but my boy ain't good for business, and they're good for business, you know, and you know, this is business. You know, and while we might sit back and look at a lot of things, and say, oh man, they could have picked a better black person than that. They could have picked a better black person than that. We have to stop thinking that we are driven to aspire to fill the black card, the black thing. Oh, you know, they go, you know how it is. They ain't gonna have 5 blacks on there. I'm trying to be one of them 5 blacks. You know, you got 15 black technicians sitting back there fighting over 4 jobs. You know, instead of, you know, diversifying this, we have to get out of that. It's still in us. You know, Dr. Joyce DeGruy, you know, spoke about the, you know, post-traumatic slave syndrome. And while people go, yeah, I heard about that, man, but it ain't this, that, and that. I'm like, dude, you just don't seem to understand. It's the mimicking image of the same argument that the Jews basically argued and won enough to get credit for the Holocaust. And while you want to say, yeah, y'all got the Holocaust and we got slavery and this, that, and that, I'm like, yeah, but y'all are not arguing, you know, you're arguing to the wrong people. You know, technically speaking, I remember working APAC. I remember the year that they made it a little bit more culturally friendly. And my man came out, the musician dude, who's also Jewish, he came out with an all black choir. Woo, it was hot. And then they, you know, went out and they started showing how, you know, I got lots of good friends of mine who are staunch Jews, just like a lot of Jewish friends that I have who are staunch Jewish, only they're white, they're, you know, and they're black. And yet I'd watch how, in many cases, rarely do you see somebody, you know, look at you, oh, you're Jewish. Oh, really? And they look at you like, how can you be black and Jewish? I'm sorry. You know, how people would convert and things like that. Same thing for black folks. You know, I've spent my life, many a day, around a lot of these upper metaphysical people of non-color, only to return back to my hood and find times where I would be questioned as to my blackness just due to the mere fact that I talked proper. Just because I didn't have the same aspirations to be a knucklehead. I mean, I don't mind being down, but, you know, I'd rather do this smarter, not stupid, you know. And we're, as a mass, still dealing with this. A lot of people don't realize, while most people celebrate Juneteenth, as a Washingtonian, there's Emancipation Day, which actually happened, you know, months before the Emancipation Proclamation happened. And it only happened because they did such a good job in DC. They feel like the whole rest of the country should go down like that. And when they found out a year or two later that Texas was still, you know, bojangling, you know, they actually got a black army and marched all the way to Texas, you know, and got up on the stairs and said, we said y'all's free. And then everybody goes, oh, okay. You know, and yet here we are looking at, you know, what happened down in Texas, you know, where they was, hey, man, you know, we're good. You know, we'll take care of this. The only people that really, or this, that, and the other. Oh, well, we're good. We'll stay on the grid, but this, that, and the other, and so and so. And, oh, it's the air turbines. Oh, it's this, that, and the other. And nobody realized these people had totally, just taken themselves and said, forget the government. We got this. And, and they showed their real, and just how so many people thought that they were, amongst the other privileged, only to find out, well, we didn't think it was going to hurt y'all people. And this, that, and the other. You don't see Texas sitting back there and really honestly taking care of a lot of people who are still suffering, who were suffering before, but now they're suffering more, just because they're taking care of their own. And we're at a point now in this country where there's no such thing as your own no more. And the more that you keep trying to perpetuate that kind of thing, the more that it's actually going to come back on you too, and your legacy, because that legacy is faulty. You can't have a legacy and be an American, because we still making legacies, and this we the people is we to all people. And I'll never forget how after Black History Month last year, I sat back and I was like, y'all, man, y'all still ain't getting it, man. Y'all still as sure as anything else. And yet, with everything that happened, all the intensity, all the tears, all the marching, all the other stuff like that, here we are in this state where all of the things that they said that they were going to be better at, we're back into this. Hey, ho, when is Coming to America 2 coming? Hey, ho, man, we don't care. Oh, yo, man, my boy, the rapper, he just got out of jail. Hey, ho, you're still, it's a habit that we need to start breaking by way of shaking and waking each person up, even if you only get one or two. That's all you need, because in some cases, that might be the best things you have. The people that we worship as as historians or whatever, that they've done something great, didn't do so because all the people that he came from rolled with him to get him there. It's because they kept rolling, even when everybody else was like, man, we still there. We have to let some of that go. We have to let it go. I'm not saying you got to let go your color. You ain't got to let go all of this other stuff. You just got to realize that even when you want to do good for all your people, the best thing you can realize is you might want to do good for all your people, but all your people might not want good. They might be good with what they got. There's some people. That's the reason why the military is voluntary again, because we can't hate on nobody that don't want to go fight. But for those who do, even if they don't fight, they do learn, the diversity. They do learn the camaraderie. They do learn, a lot of the things that are important in this new world order of the ages. This is the age of Aquarius. There's some things going on with these moons and these stars and whatnot. There was an article way back that people were really up in their feathers about, that said that there was 78% of the valid people on this planet had some form of bipolar activity. And everybody was like, well, what's this thing, man? I don't like this bipolar thing. Only for us to be here today, realizing that the sun, moon, stars, and earth, and all of this, are all in a bipolar state. They're wobbling. They're trying to get ready. And it's not even going to settle down until 2033. And that's the reason why we have all these new things that are happening, and everything is mutating. Our grass ain't growing the way it is. The medicine that we used to take that was good ain't good no more. We've got generations of people who had a vaccination mark, who, are dealing with differently. And then you got the inoculation marks. And then you got the people who just been injected. Now we're in a whole new world where, these things they're genetically different. We've got a large amount of the population looking at each other as in the same, and not being aware that we're all genetically in stages differently. There's some people, millennials and whatnot, that can't understand what high fidelity sounds like. They can't understand how, sitting down and listening to a radio with one speaker in the side of the room, for a radio thing, and listening to theater, not understanding how long many of us lived, without even realizing the color. Now we've got these LED TVs and the whole nine to do all kind of stuff, and not even realize that we came from a place where, man, Saturday morning cartoons and this, that, and the other, man. The only thing that really took us that next step was right after the cartoons in the afternoon came Soul Train. Oh, we've done so much. And yet we remember or understand or feel that we've still done or got so little, and we've got so much that there's less people stopping us. But we've gotten better at complaining about, I can't do nothing. Like the joke that I told about the laziest man in the world, it's what it is, and so I've been on this thing for about an hour. And this is WNDC, NDC. WNDC stands for We in the Crib and You Ain't. NDC in my crib. And therefore, here I am and there you are. And if at any point there's anything that I've said that you find entertaining, enlightening, or educational, please like, share, and subscribe, as well as if you can, donate, because right now, I am terribly unemployed, and I don't even know if my checks are going to show up or not. And, it is what it is. You good? Turn that up. I like that. Hey, Thaddeus, thank you very much, man, for hanging out. Now I know that I can chat with people at least on YouTube, and yeah,